Hey guys, welcome to another Frontier Indica video. And unlike other videos that we've before uploaded on this channel, this video is not going to be heavily edited. This video is not going to be very planned or systematic. This is an impromptu script from my side. I mean, like, it's not really a script, it's just what I feel I need to say from my heart and what's coming to my mind right now. So now the thing is that as many of you would know, that in our country a few years back, what we had under BJP rule, might I remind you, was that section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, it was revoked. It was made a non-criminal act. It was decriminalized, basically, as a lawyer would say. And what this has done, I mean, like, many of us, if you think of it from a logical point of view, Hindu civilization, Indian civilization has never been very, particularly perturbed by the idea of homosexuality. We have never been the kind of civilization to actively persecute homosexuals or to actively persecute people who may not, specifically identify with a particular gender. But what has happened in this case is that, first of all, we have decriminalized homosexuality as an act as it is, right? And logically speaking, a lot of people might feel, okay, fine, like, what two individuals do behind the four corners of their own private home or their own private place is not the business of the state, is not the business of the community. That is all fine and dandy, right? But the fact remains that anyhow, what is happening at an international scale, especially in Western countries, is that they are not stopping with this. For them, this is just the first step in a series of steps to kind of unravel and sort of push back against the views of traditional society towards homosexuality and the whole LGBT community, or the whole LGBT point of view. Now the thing is that if you look at India, right, the most prominent examples in your real life where you'll actually end up interacting with not just homosexuals, but transgenders and people who might term themselves as gender fluid, is these gangs of transgender beggars and these sort of communities in the underclass. And many of them are not just gangs of beggars. They're more than that. They're in fact communities which not just beg for money on the basis of the fact that they are transgenders, but they actively recruit people, especially young boys, into their whatever gender fluid identity or whatever LGBT identity, from the normal populace. And the problem with this is that in many cases it is not entirely warranted as far as the normal biological facts are concerned, right? And this presents a novel problem for Indian society, particularly for Hindu society, and as well as for the Indian state, because if they are recruiting on the basis of coercion, on the basis of forcing, let's say, certain boys from marginalized communities, on some boys from, let's say, orphanages and boys who have been abandoned, then it kind of amounts to, forcibly making them gender fluid or forcibly turning them into transgenders. And the fact is that instead of trying to accommodate these communities into the traditional hierarchical system, what we are essentially doing in let's say the broader Hindu society is that it's what is happening right now is that we are now normalizing LGBT ideas. We are normalizing homosexuality. We are normalizing transgenderism. We are normalizing lesbianism. We are normalizing all these sorts of ideas which have for centuries been very fringe ideas, which have for centuries been very extreme and abnormal ways of living. And this is a matter of particular concern, not just politically but also socially, because if we look at, let's say, the West, which is far more advanced in these sort of societal transformation gimmicks compared to us, what we've seen is that in the West, as soon as these things become normalized, as soon as these things are propagated by mainstream media and they're taught at schools, young children, young men and women who are, barely able to comprehend what the meaning of life is, who are in, let's say, their teenage or who are young adults, they're not able to entirely decipher what the meaning of this is. And we've seen that the rates of people who identify themselves as, let's say, homosexual, transgender, or gender fluid, etc., have skyrocketed amongst the young populations of Western countries. And the same thing after the decriminalization of these views, after essentially the decriminalization of Section 377 of the IPC, we have a situation where mass media, where the liberal elites are able to push these ideas into the mainstream, especially of Hindu society. And the end result of all of this is for anyone to guess. What has happened in the West, how these things have become a part of normal everyday society of the middle class, of the lower middle class, the working class, etc. The same thing is now being repeated in Indian schools, in Indian society, where drag queens, transgenders, transvestites, etc., are being called to perform for normal students from middle class families. And the thing is that these children are very vulnerable. They may not have an exact idea of how sexuality works, of how gender works, and how society might see these things traditionally. And they are being fed all these ideas which are taken primarily from the West about transgenderism, gender fluidness, etc., etc., and all of that. And they're being made to feel that these are all normal things, and this is the way that society is supposed to naturally progress. All of this, in fact, indicates that our society eventually is going to be harmed to a very, very large extent without the say so of parents, without the say so of our traditional community leaders, without the say so of even the children, right? Because they are very vulnerable, they are very ignorant about how things work in the real world. And that's why I really want you to think whether it's a good idea to sort of allow this wholesale propagation of lesbianism, homosexuality, transgenderism, etc., in our schools and our mainstream society. This may eventually turn out to be something much, much, much worse than what the politicians and these social justice warriors are claiming for it to be. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you believe that this may have very negative consequences for our society, or if you think that it's entirely normal or appropriate. Do let me know about your views, and at the end of it, if you like this kind of content, do subscribe to the channel, and do press on the bell icon for notifications for more content like this. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Thank you so much for watching, and please do comment about your views. Thank you so much.